So we're entering into an age where a lot of work is evaporating into the cloud, and a lot of wages are evaporating into a tax haven. So, and we're seeing this across industries. So media is a good example, and it's happened quicker in media than others. So an industry which used to have not much competition from the rest of the world suddenly had to compete with the rest of the world. And that is a good precursor to a whole bunch of other industries that are going to have the same thing happen to them. So we're talking education, health, financial services, all sorts of consulting services, you know, architecture, legal services, those sorts of things. Where previously you'd have a New Zealander working in an office, wearing a suit, being paid, you know, much more than 50K, probably more than 100K, who didn't have to worry about competing with some worker in India or the Philippines or China or some, more importantly, some algorithm based on a floating server somewhere in the world. Now, those people have to care over the next 20 to 30 years that those jobs are going to go. That the age of the rise of the robots and the rise of the algorithms will make it more difficult for those people to get high-paid, stable jobs. And this is a concern that was increasingly raised over the last year or two, as we have an economic recovery happening, but it's not a very jobs-rich recovery, and it's not a very wage-rich recovery. And we're also seeing, particularly overseas, an increasing share of that wealth that's created goes to a relatively small number of people. And the best example of that is what we've seen with a bunch of new companies, Facebook, WhatsApp, where small numbers of people have created something that is incredibly valuable and generates a lot of cash, but doesn't actually employ a lot of people. And the best example of that is Instagram. So Instagram is a $1 billion plus company. Was sold to one of the majors recently. I think less than 25 people worked for Instagram, and it and other apps essentially replaced Kodak. Kodak had 20,000 people working for it and went bankrupt. So that's an example of what happens when you have new technology that migrates onto mobile phones and into the cloud. It removes jobs and wages, makes a few people very rich, and provides a service and lowers costs for consumers, but means that there's not a lot of wages to go around, not a lot of taxes to be paid. Long story short, if you're 25 now and you're wondering, what am I going to be earning and paying in taxes in 45 years or 30 years' time as I approach retirement? On current settings and the way that the world is currently developing, it's going to be a struggle unless there's some change in those settings.